Okay, hello game fans and welcome to another video from Gaming Debugged. Now, today I am looking at the positives and negatives of Destiny Beta. So I've already did a video of initial thoughts, initial opinions, and that was literally after just a few hours of play. So now the beta has ended. I played it as much as I possibly could, and I just sort of reflected on the whole experience to sort of think back. You know, did I like it? Because I was a little bit confused. I was a little bit up and down about the whole thing. So I tried to put it down into words, and now I'm putting it down into a video of my opinions of the Destiny Beta. So I'll start off with probably the negatives. I mean, overall, don't get me wrong, it was a great game. I'm definitely getting it. I'm definitely going to experience it. But here are just some of my thoughts. So first of all, like negatives wise, I'm kind of the Peter Dinklage thing. He might be a bit of a scapegoat. It could be a script issue, and hopefully he'll grow on me. But at the moment, the robot voice of Peter Dinklage is a little bit, it's not great. But I think that's been done. It's been talked about. Let's put it to bed. I think we're going to keep Dinklage, and so I think it's just going to grow on us. But some of the bigger issues that I found was the bigger bosses or the sub bosses were kind of just bullet sponges, and like you'd sort of go in, and that sort of first boss, with the forearms, he comes crawling through the big hole, and you think, whoa, he's big. What's he going to bring to the table? But really, he just shoots, line of sight, and then you just find yourself dodging around the corner and pumping as many bullets in as humanly possible. Okay, he's hit me once. Okay, I'm going to move around. I'm going to pump him full again. And really, he was just another enemy with a bigger bar. With a bigger health bar. You just pumping your bullets into until he dies. And for the first boss, it was like, wow, look at him. He's coming out of this hole. And then he just walks and then shoots at a wall where you once stood. You move and then he shoots at that wall. I know it's a first level boss, but it just didn't feel as epic as the rest of the game. And then this sort of followed on. So as you went into the underground part and you had the wizard, it was like, oh no, there's a wizard here. And you kind of think, wow, okay, there's a wizard. Here we go. Here's the wizard. What's the wizard going to do? He's a floaty boss with a big health bar. And you ultimately just pump bullets into him until he dies. There was nothing really that says, wow, he's mystical and he's wizardy, So I'd love it if they said, right, okay, we're having wizards in the game, even though it's a sci-fi game, we're having wizards, so maybe they can, bend reality or something. So, remember in like Batman where you did the scarecrow thing and you freaked out and had rabbit ears and it just was a little bit crazy. And there was other like games, like even in Watch Dogs, where you've got a sort of digital trip and you're mowing down flaming head zombies in your apocalyptic car. I mean, that was the good use of trying to mess with the player a little bit. So I was hoping that a wizard would have something more, something different, instead of oh look, I float and I shoot you. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I think it's going to be such a massive game. Hopefully the enemies will build up and the AI will change and they'll become more and more difficult. But yeah, that was my initial opinion anyway. Another sort of negative, I think, is coming from the MMO side. So the fact that you always know where the people are spawning from. So the enemies come in obvious waves. You know where they're spawning from, so you can go to a different part of the map, then come back on your Sparrow. You know that they're there. Shoot. Oh, I'm going to go away, come back. So should you ever want to do any grinding, I know some people love that kind of stuff, then it's really kind of simple to do. Whereas if you're comparing it to Halo, and I know we probably shouldn't because it's a mix of a few things, but ultimately it's a Bungie game. So with Halo, you'd go through, you'd shoot people, you'd shoot things, and it would all be an epic story. The waves would have a reason for coming. The positions of the enemies would have a reason for being there. It was all meticulously planned to have that experience. Whereas now in Destiny, it's just like, okay, go and collect me, 10 bits of gold. Go and look at this view over here. Now go and look at that view over there. And you just got spawning enemies. So I think it takes away a little bit of that story, because one thing I'm going to come into later is how great the story is. But in this respect, the fact that they come in waves and they just spawn in the same places, just sort of pulls you out of that narrative and just puts you in an MMO, which I know they're trying to go for, but I didn't particularly like that. And yeah, so that was it really. And it didn't really bring anything new to the table. It was all done really well. Don't get me wrong. The Halo, they pulled the shooting from Halo, which works brilliantly. They've got the sort of RPG elements of Borderlands, which works very well. They've got this sort of epic space and tower like in Mass Effect, which they've done very well. And individually and as a whole, it all works very well. But it doesn't bring anything new. Even Titanfall, it was a new game. It was still a first-person shooter, but it did bring that wall running and speed did feel new. It felt a little bit different, only a little bit different, but it did feel different. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the release is like, because at the moment it just doesn't feel like it's brought anything new to the table. But it's only 2 levels, or it's only a small sliver of the game. And yeah, I mean, another part of that sort of MMO things, maybe I'm just not an MMO kind of guy, but going into the tower, it was great to see people there and see people interacting, but I love getting involved in the story as well. And when you sort of see people leaping around and sort of sitting cross-legged, sat on top of a flagpole, or people just sort of dancing on precipices and things like that, it's just like, I'm trying to get involved in a big epic space battle to save the universe here, and I've got some guy, old, crazy dude 1, 2, 3, just sat, stood on this precipice dancing away. And so yeah, it sort of took me out a little bit, and I know MMOs love that kind of thing, but it just wasn't for me. And yeah, a few things. What else annoyed me a little bit? It's not annoyed, I think it's a strong word. I mean, joining and switching the fire teams was a bit fiddly. I can see that, because if it was all done sort of in-game, I think it would have been a lot smoother, but you've kind of got to, I think it's going to be more awkward. I didn't get much time to play in this sort of section. I only got to sort of dabble in it, but at the moment it looks awkward, so I'd be interested to see what they do with that. And my final complaint, I'm sorry Bungie, I'm sorry Destiny, I did really enjoy it, honestly, but the fetch and look quests were a little bit boring after a while. It was like, oh, well, let's go press this mission bell, okay, excellent, go find me 10 bits of this, okay, yep. And now go and look over here, and you get on a mountain, and yeah, the scenery was beautiful. Thank you for showing me this beautiful scenery. Art direction is fantastic, the graphics are fantastic, I love it. And then by the 5th time I'd looked at something, or the 5th time I'd had to collect 10 bits of weaponry or something, it was like, oh, okay, please, can I get something new, something a little bit more inventive? So fingers crossed. Arms crossed, legs crossed, eyes crossed, all that kind of stuff. Just can we see more? Can we expand the amount of these mini quests? Because yeah, that's going to get very boring very quickly. Now, okay, the good stuff. Okay, good. Okay, the graphical user interface, the GUI, it was beautiful. It was just worked really well on the 2 thumbsticks. I mean, coming from playing on both a Mac and on an Xbox One, menu systems on consoles are difficult at best. But the guy who did it, I mean, I think he did it all the way from Halo 1. So he's done Halo 1, Halo 2, and he's obviously evolved his user interface skills, because this one really is amazing. Obviously, he never had to do anything in this kind of RPG space, but what he's done is absolutely amazing. So that is a really good introduction to the game, because you find it very easy to use. And also, like, talking of introductions, that training level is fantastic. You wake up, you're dead, and you walk through. It tells you the different commands, even though sort of seasoned first-person shooters will already know everything. I think the fact that it sort of takes you through this kind of little story mission, everything's all very cinematic, pans and zooms and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a fantastic opening to a game, and it really does suck you in, so that's a definite positive there. the whole thing just feels epic. You know, that is just one big, good, positive note. The whole thing just feels like an epic adventure. It looks like it's really going to have some like a deep story behind it, because it teases you, doesn't it? So you wake up and you are dead. And then, you know, you get in a spaceship which is ancient. So what has happened? You know, why has it happened? Why is nobody telling me what's happening yet? And so obviously this story is going to unfold and unfold throughout the narrative. And there's obviously going to be sideline books and other sort of fringe characters coming in. So I think that they've really sort of put the narrative at a certain level that you're wanting more, but you can feel that something big is happening. So that's really good. And you know, what else did I like? There was like lots of things I liked. I mean, I love the public matches. I mean, when that big spider tank sort of drops down and there's just a ton of you going in it. You know, it's just a little like flutter of excitement as you all sort of take on this one goal. I think it's a really nice touch. And even though the tank was a little bit lame in terms of its and how it battled you, you know, obviously, I would have thought a spider tank would have been able to move a little bit niftier, but really it's just a tank that turns around and fires at you, turns around and fires at you. So I would have had more, but it's only beta, something else I liked was the fact that you could find big enemies way above your pay grade, and they existed. They were there in the world. If you went down deep enough, you could find enemies which you really could not take on. And I thought that was a really nice touch, because you know, it would have been so much easier for them to just lock off that door and then open it when you're at a certain level. So I thought that was a really nice touch, and hopefully you're going to find that on other planets. If you go down deep enough or explore enough, then you'll find people that are just way above your level, and it'll just make the world feel more real, and I really like that. So, but yeah, there's quite a few unknowns though. The unknowns really for it are the story. You know, we don't know what's happening yet. We don't know the story yet, so can't really comment on that. We can't really comment on the size of it. You know, did we see a big part of this game, or was this just one planet in 100? So depending on the size of the game is going to sort of impact on everyone's opinion. It feels like it's going to be big. It feels like it could be full of DLC, and you know, I hope it is. I mean, so far so good. And then finally, the last part of the unknown is kind of the extended universe. You know, how else are they going to grow it? Because once you've done the narrative, is it going to leave you at a sequel, or is it going to sort of throw in more team games? Because once you've got to your level 20 cap, I mean, that's only a loose cap apparently, so once everyone gets to that level 20 cap, then they start properly playing and there's an end game there. But I have a feeling that as DLCs are released, this cap will probably be raised, so everyone can kind of grow together instead of having a 99 player next to a 2 player. But yes, that's so much about this game that I did like. I mean, I did like the fact that the Borderlands had all the Borderlands style guns, so you could have a totally different gun to somebody you are playing against and somebody you're playing with. And at the moment, sort of going to the shops and that sort of UI is really easy. It's really simple. So I'm really looking forward to it. So, what did you think? I mean, you've played it for a few days, you might have played the alpha on PlayStation 4 as well, so let me know in the comments, what are your positives and negatives of the Destiny beta? Are you looking forward to the game? Are you going to hold off to wait until the reviews are out? Let me know in the comments if this helped at all, if you liked it, if you agreed with it, if you disagreed with it, if anything, if you just like, submit, or subscribe even. And I will do another video for you again soon. So, right, adios amigos, I will see you later.
Finish him!
Ending journey of broken conventions.
If you want more, don't forget to like, comment or subscribe, or click the link for even more reviews.
Seem to be clean. The good thing is that after only an hour's worth of play, I saw at least 5 different things. A long game will compel you to just have one more go just to see where it might take you. To make sense of it in my head. It was so random, yet so controlled.